you might have been tempted, one might have been tempted to open your eyes and attend to them, but I'm thinking I'm in a meeting with the Lord at this time. They've got to wait. And they respectfully waited. I find that a lot of times when you stand your ground and do the right thing, instead of people intimidating you, they will respect you.
Yes.
So you've got to pray at the right time. It's very important. Like Pastor Bill said, some people like to do things after. This is the Global Prayer Week. Don't say I'm going to do mine after.
Yes.
The time of prayer, 12 noon. Don't say I'll eat first and then I'll do mine after. So stay faithful with it, and you'll be amazed the impact it will make for you, and of course others around you will want to be like you and they will join in.
Now remember, Pastor Larry said, if you don't have the King's Chat app on your phone, go to either the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store and search for King's Chat. Is one word. King's Chat, one word. You download.
In the thinking of the Spirit, not only do you know what kind of things you should be praying about, but you also know what are the words, what are the scriptures. We find ourselves praying for nations. We have a global approach in our ministry. We have the whole world in our hearts. So you find us praying for the whole world. You find us praying for nations. You find us praying for ethno-nations, for young people, for teachers, for policemen. You find us praying for the gospel to move forward. You find us praying for other ministries to expand, for the work of the gospel to move around the world. So it's also a culture and a teaching of how to pray. Jesus' disciples, they asked him, Master, teach us how to pray. Through the Pastor Chris Prayer Network, you will learn how to pray. And we pray so much in the Spirit, because that is the highest form of prayer. That's something that Pastor brought us into in our ministry. We pray in the Spirit. We move at the highest level. So it's an amazing thing to be a part of a prayer network.
Even during the disaster crisis in many nations,
Yes.
Pastor will direct our attention to it, to
Yes.
pray for those areas.
Yes.
Those who are having problems in their countries, war-torn areas, we pray for them. When we hear some bad things on the news, on the network news, instead of just listening to the news and just showing some emotional interest in what is going on there, Pastor will come and direct us to pray for that nation. I remember when we prayed for United States of America when they had the flood crisis last year in Texas. Pastor reminded us to pray and things like that.
Even a few days ago, we were told to pray about the shooting in Florida.
Shooting in Florida.
Yes.
Which normally as a Christian, you just look at it and say, oh God, why is all this thing happening? Why is all these bad things are happening?
And you now get involved in the argument, the political arguments of that country. Instead of praying.
Instead of praying.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Now, a correction, very important correction. When you get to the super user account to follow is at Pastor Chris. Not Pastor Chris Live, at Pastor Chris. It's very important that you take note of that. At Pastor Chris on King's Chat, the super user account, at Pastor Chris, so that you'll be following. Now, before we go into the final prayer prayer session for this morning session, Pastor Larry, you said you had a testimony?
Actually, Pastor D covered the first one. Our prayer posts teach us to pray. They guide our hearts to pray for things we otherwise may have forgotten. Once you become a partner or a part of this prayer post, you're going to find your scope opens up. No matter where you are, you're going to find yourself having a compassion for many things. And then whenever Pastor tells us things like, listen carefully to what the Spirit of God is going to say to you. Every time when I pay attention to that, I receive definite answers. So I'm always so grateful to Pastor to let us know the timing of the Spirit. And it from the Spirit, because Pastor said, open your heart to what the Spirit of God is going to do for you or tell you. And I got them, I wrote them down, and it came in the time of prayer.
Something also that in a lot of the posts, not everyone, but a lot of them, Pastor gives a brief of what that day's rhapsody is talking about.
Yes.
You know, then the one on Wednesdays, Pastor always reminds us to go to church. Letting people know the things that should be prioritized, priorities in your life. One thing, you know, it's one thing to tell someone about the benefits, but until you participate, you wouldn't get to know. You've got to know to discover and enjoy these benefits. And finally, I remember there was once I was praying for the brethren in my church to pray, to be prayerful. And the Lord told me, he said, increase the awareness of the Global Prayer Network with Pastor Chris. He said, people do what gives them an advantage. A lot of people pray, but they don't have results. So there's a generation that has risen up. They don't want to waste their time. They see their parents go for night vigil. They are going from one place to the other to pray about the same thing, deliverance, open heavens, and things like that, and no results. So they don't think prayer works. But the reason why a lot of people don't have results in their prayer, a lot of people don't have results in their prayer is that they've not learned how to pray. The disciples of Jesus said, teach us to pray as John taught his disciples. So prayer is learnt. Prayer is learnt. And so the Lord told me, if they will, like you said, Pastor teaches us to pray, how to pray in the posts. The Lord told me, if they will follow the posts, they will learn how to pray and they would have results in their prayers. And it has happened. I have had results in my prayers. I know we've all had results in our prayers. And our brethren have results in their prayers. So it will happen to you all.